Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host, Kevin. This week we'll be discussing the 1975 sci-fi action comedy classic, Death Race 2000, starring David Carradine, Sylvester Stallone. It's an all-star cast. Those of you joining us for the first time, each week on the B Movie Club, we discuss certain guilty pleasures and forgotten classics. You can go to our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us the thumbs up. You get all the latest updates, what shows we're doing. You can send in your comments, questions, favorite scenes, favorite quotes. Maybe we'll talk about it on the show. You can also go to our page on YouTube, Kevin D, that's me, and click the big subscribe. That's a thumbs up. You can click the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. You'll get email notifications whenever I post a new video. So there's that. You can also reach me on Twitter at KD9575. It's totally free. You get the updates. You can reach me directly. We can have a little conversation. Anything you want to get off your chest, there I am. Death Race 2000. It is the year 2000, the future. It's a dystopian future of the United States where basically people live in totalitarian dictatorship. And in order to distract the people who live here from the horror of their lives, each year the government sponsors a transcontinental race where it's a little bit of a twist. It's not just a race. It's not just like Cannonball Run, for example. You get points for winning, but you also get points for running down innocent bystanders. And you know how young they are. If they're very young, you get extra points. If they're women, you get extra points. If they're very old, you get extra points. If they're somehow infirmed in some way, in a wheelchair, you get extra points. Yeah, you're getting the idea. Of course, there's an underground resistance who's not too happy about this. So as the race goes on, they're trying to basically take care of the racers, trying to blow them up as kind of a political message on top of that. So there are 5 race cars in this. The best racer in the world is this crazy cyborg guy who they call Frankenstein, who wears a mask because he's so hideous to behold. He's been blown up, he's been in car wrecks, so he's got like a robot arm, he's got half a face, allegedly, but he wears a mask like the Phantom of the Opera, so as not to bother people, I guess. There's also Calamity Jane, who's kind of a cowgirl who drives her kind of cowboy-themed car. There's Matilda the Hun, who drives a neo-Nazi mobile. You know, good stuff. You got Machine Gun Joe Viterbo, who's kind of a 20s gangster guy who has like a Tommy gun. It's an all-star cast. It's good times. So over the course of the movie, we begin to discover that each car, you've got the driver, and sitting next to him is the navigator, who I guess has a map of some sort. I don't know, a Thomas guide perhaps. This is, even though it's the future, there isn't GPS per se. She tells them what to go. They're also like mechanics. If they get a flat tire or something, they can change the tire. Unbeknownst to everybody, the Resistance has planted somebody as the navigator of Frankenstein's car. She's supposed to, as the movie progresses, lead him into an ambush, since he's like the hero of the world. Okay, everybody in the United Provinces of America loves him. He's like the best racer, which means the Resistance doesn't like him. What we discover over the course of the race, however, is that even though he's a big champion, he doesn't really appreciate the race. He doesn't like running people over. He doesn't. Why did he even start doing the race then, I guess, right? How does he win? I mean, how do you win if you don't want to run people over, I guess is the moral of the story. And then there's a big reveal, spoiler alert, where the navigator wants to see what he looks like underneath the mask, right? So he's like, okay, get ready, don't say I didn't warn you. And she peels off his mask, and to the horror of everyone, it's David Carradine. So that's horrifying enough in my book. It's supposed to be like, oh, he's not really disfigured and deformed, except he's David Carradine. So what does that mean? Is he deformed or isn't he? It's a coin flip, right? So again, there are times where David Carradine has opportunity to run people down where he doesn't necessarily take it. Although there's Euthanasia Day at the old folks' home, where the doctors and nurses literally put people out into the street, like the old and infirmed, out into like the street to basically just get run over by the people. So Frankenstein pulls up, sees all the people there, takes the opportunity to run down the nurses and the doctors instead. So they say out of a possible 700 points, because again, knocking off people over 70 is like 100 points, he only gets like 80 because he only runs down the doctors and yeah. So there's all that good stuff. One by one, the racers get knocked out. I don't want to spoil everything. But Frankenstein is victorious. I guess that does spoil everything. And he takes out the president of the United Provinces and becomes the new people's champion and abolishes the races. I guess I did just spoil everything. Sorry about that. This movie, basically, let me give you the lowdown. 1975, it was announced a movie featuring a dystopian future where violent games are held for the enjoyment of the people. Was about to come out, called Rollerball, starring James Caan. Roger Corman, who, as we all know, was his big-time B-movie producer, decided to get the jump on Rollerball by releasing their own dystopian games movie. They found a book called The Racer, dealt with this kind of subject matter, and rushed it into production. And they hired somebody who was kind of a big star on TV, David Carradine, to be the lead character. He had literally just walked off Kung Fu. And he was like, if you walk off a popular show like Kung Fu, then you need to make sure you go right into a movie or you may never get a chance to. So he chose this movie, and it did kind of springboard his successful movie career. So there's all that good stuff. The original draft of the script, they offered it to director Paul Bartel, who you might know is famous for directing such gems as Eating Raoul. Hey! He read the script, thought it was basically unshootable, so he had it rewritten, changed it. Originally, it was supposed to be very dark, and Roger Corman was looking at the script going like, this is just be... He used the word vile to describe it. They're like, this would be awful if it was done like very serious. So he tried to make it kind of wacky, so even though people are getting run down, it's kind of, hey, it's slapsticky, if you will. Their first choice to play the role of Frankenstein was actually Peter Fonda, who, of course, was big from Easy Rider, and he thought it was too ridiculous for words. So they had to go with Kung Fu star David Carradine. So there's all that good stuff. Sylvester Stallone is in this as well. He plays Machine Gun Joe Viterbo. This is before Rocky came out. So it's kind of weird seeing him in this because he's kind of a villainous character. And again, he's kind of wacky. He's, this kind of Al Capone type, basically. Not his best performance, if you will. Other crazy cameos in this. Martin Kove, who you might remember was the bad karate instructor from Karate Kid, plays another racer known as Nero the Hero, who gets blown up pretty early. Spoiler alert. And if you're looking really closely, Matilda the Hun's neo-Nazi navigator is played by none other than Gopher from The Love Boat. Hey, it's an all-star cast, like I told you. When this movie came out, Roger Ebert gave it 0 stars. I can't say as I blame him. The opening credit sequence looked like basically 6th graders with some with some crayons, basically sketched this whole thing out. In the background, when they're showing the raceway, it's like you see like the skyline of the future. It literally looked like kids drew it. It's like some of the special effects are ridiculous. The race cars look like go-karts, a lot of fiberglass and spray paint. Most of the cars didn't really even work. They had to basically push them downhill and then speed up the film, or should we slow down the film to make it look like the cars were going even faster than they normally would. One of the drivers, Calamity Jane, couldn't even drive, so she didn't have a driver's license. So there was a lot of scenes where it was just basically them towing her car, or a stunt person wearing a wig would do it. The cars were not street legal, so the stunt drivers were like, we're not driving these on city streets. We don't want to get arrested. So the actual actors had to drive these crazy cars when they did work. So evidently they weren't concerned about being arrested. Good times had by all. Frankenstein is supposed to be wearing like an all-leather outfit from head to toe. For some reason, David Carradine didn't want to wear leather. He's, I guess, kind of an environmentalist type. So they came up with kind of a material that looks kind of leathery, kind of a pleather, if you will. So there you have that. What else can I tell you about this movie? More recently, they actually redid Death Race 2000. Obviously, they couldn't call it Death Race 2000 anymore. They just called it Death Race. And it starred Jason Statham, Tyrese Gibson, and kind of an updated version of it, which has spawned 2 more sequels. So everybody's into it. Like I said, Roger Ebert gave it kind of the big thumbs down. However, more recently, again, he kind of cited it as kind of the ancestor, if you will, of the modern Fast and the Furious movies, kind of kicking off the summer fun that was going on with those movies. So, what can you say? It's Death Race 2000. I thought this movie was utterly ridiculous. It's trying to be funny, but just the whole concept of it, you're just like, what is this? What is going on? I mean, did some high schoolers steal a camera and film this? Sylvester Stallone wrote some of his own dialogue. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. If you haven't seen it, you've got to see it, if for no other reason than you can just say this is some crazy filmmaking. It is still currently streaming on Netflix, so there's that. Most shocking thing in the world is when I was researching this movie and I discovered it currently has an 85% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It's ridiculous. It is. I agree with Peter Fonda on this. Too ridiculous for words. So, there you have it. Good times had by all. Next week, I'm going back to the comedy genre, to the 80s classic, Once Bitten. Hey! Starring a young Jim Carrey, Lauren Hutton. It's also an all-star cast. It is still streaming instantly on Netflix. So rush out and see it. Let me know what you think. You can reach me on our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. You can also reach me on our page on YouTube, and you can tweet me directly on Twitter. Don't forget to spread the word and tell a friend. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote, and here it is. Well, what does she expect? You leave your navigator lying around, and naturally somebody's going to run over them. Only on Death Race 2000. So thank you for joining us. Next week, Once Bitten, streaming instantly on Netflix.